would like to have some of your questions included in this form. What we do is we take the questions, we will collect them from you in the audience, and then we have a review board that will look over the questions and then pose these to the moderator. Joanna Siskin will be our moderator tonight. What we're doing, we're going to have all the questions posed to all the candidates, so no candidate is singled out. But what we did about 3 weeks ago was we gave the candidates a list of 9 questions that required a little bit of research, and they were neighborhood-oriented questions. And we wanted tonight to give them a chance to present those questions to us. We do not endorse candidates, we're just merely providing a facility and a forum for them to present their ideas and their positions to you as voters. We have a 2-minute response time for each question, and Mr. David Littlestand is our official timekeeper. He will show bells and buzzers going off, and that is a condition of response, so your time is up. I'd also like to thank Mr. Norris Smith on our sound system. I neglected to thank him before we thank him. With that, we need to get started. I will turn this over to our moderator, Joanna Siskin, and she will take care of the festivities for the night. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I think this is awesome. You're here to learn something. It's great. We're going to go ahead and start. I'd like to point out that the people that are running for seat 2 are sitting together, and seat 3 are sitting together. So there was a little confusion about that Monday night. So we'll go ahead and get started with the questions. We're going to start with Mr. Bunker. The second question will be Mr. Santana. The third, Kathleen. The fourth, Scott, and we'll start all over again. So everybody has a chance to be the first to answer a question. And they have 2 minutes. Yes. And if each one of you could take 2 minutes to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and what neighborhood you're from, that would be great. Okay, we'll start with you, Mark.
Sure. Hi, I'm Mark Bunker, running for seat 2. And I live not far from here, about 5 minutes away on Missouri at Lexington Club. So I'm not your typical candidate. I have spent my life in the media. And I started out as a morning guy on a radio station way back in Wisconsin decades ago. I spent 15 years in LA working in front of and behind the cameras at Universal Studios, Disney, CBS, and Paramount. And then for 10 years I worked in TV news in San Diego, and I won an Emmy Award for my work. The other thing you need to know about me is I don't like bullies. And I moved here in 2000 to take on the biggest bully that I've ever met in my life. For decades now, the Church of Scientology has been sucking the life and the money out of downtown Clearwater.
Oh, come on.
And intimidating everyone out of the way. Be happy?
Come on.
Well, this is not really
Wow.
It's not about.
Wow. That's your left.
You're prejudice.
Let him talk.
It's not about beliefs. It's about behavior.
Oh, sure.
All right,
Wow.
please be quiet. Everybody is going to have a chance to say something.
And I'll be happy to answer all your questions later on. So, for years now, the city has tried to do nothing more than to keep Scientology off the front page of the paper. And politicians consider it the kiss of death to even speak about it, but not me. I will be silent. And
We won't either.
very good. We'll talk later. I'd be happy to talk. So I'm running to give voice to those who feel that no one is listening and no one cares, who thinks that the deck is stacked against them. And I will fight for you if I'm elected to seat 2. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to have order in this. He asked to leave.
Thank you.
My name is Eliseo Santana. I'm a veteran. That's my granddaughter, by the way, of which I have 13 of them. 10 of them go to school here in Dallas County. All of them live here in this county, but it is essential that I put my 31 years of experience with the Sheriff's Department, making sure that our city is safe and secure, making sure that our children, like my granddaughter there, is able to go and be about and have the beautiful city that we have. We have all the elements here. We have all the elements to be fantastic. I love my neighborhood. I live in that Kings Highway and Sunset Point area, and it's a beautiful area. I get to see the sunrise. I get to see the sunset whenever I go out there, and it's beautiful. But let me tell you that we need to have somebody that has the ability of being able to do decisions for our children, for our families, to make sure that our neighborhoods are safe and secure, to make sure that we listen to what our neighborhoods say. Too often we have people that want to spend a lot of money in development, and they don't consider the people that live there and what their conditions are and what their lifestyle is going to change like. It is essential. We also need to be addressed fiscal responsibility and make sure that our actions do not lead to the city being bankrupt. It's essential that we do not act in a way that leads the city to be bankrupt. And unfortunately, not all of us here have that in mind. And I have about 10 seconds left. And I want to say that my name is Eliseo Santana. I'm a family man. I live in this community for over 40 years. And I want to make sure that this place is safe and secure for everyone.
Good evening, my name is Kathleen Beckman, and I am running for Clearwater City Council, Seat 3. Thank you to the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition for putting this on, and thank you all for attending and participating in our democracy. I thought I'd ask, how many of you are here representing the CNC, a neighborhood in the CNC, or you regularly attend the CNC? Ooh, not too many. Well, I do. I'm a member of the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition. I attend our monthly meetings and report back to my neighborhood, the Sand Key neighborhood. And so in being part of the CNC, I've learned about the concerns of a variety of neighborhoods in Clearwater, and I go up before the council and speak on behalf of those neighborhoods very frequently. Part of the reason I'm running is because the council doesn't very often listen to the concerns of residents. And when I've walked through our neighborhoods and knocked on doors, I'm realizing that the neighbors feel similarly to me in that our values are not being represented on our city council. And I just want to explain it this way. I don't know if you've ever heard of this concept or title of the triple bottom line. And a lot of businesses use a triple bottom line, and I think it's a great thing. Triple bottom line means a business is worried about profit, they're worried about how they treat their employees, and they're worried about their impact on the environment. And none of those three things rise to the top. We need to consider them equally. That's how I live my life. I consider environmental impact, what is going on around society, and how we're handling our finances. The city of Clearwater needs to do the same things. When we're making decisions, we need to consider those three things. And the city also needs to be more accountable and transparent to its residents. I've advocated for that. I'll continue to do so. And those are my priorities as your city council person.
Good evening. My name is Scott Thomas, and I am also running for Seat 3. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight and taking the opportunity to take part of democracy. Like I said, my name is Scott Thomas. I am relatively new in Clearwater. I was born and raised in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. For those of you who don't know Pottsville, it's a small town in the heart of the coal region in Pennsylvania, where everybody knows their neighbor. Crime is small, and it's a great great place to grow up. When I was 19 years old, I decided to do something crazy and run for the school board. Our school board is much different than those in Florida. They are citywide school boards. So we had 3 schools. I was fortunate in an 8-way race to be elected, and I served on the school board for 1 term, decided not to run again, but then there were issues going on 2 years later, so I decided to seek office again, and again was elected. Now you could say, how did a 19-year-old get elected to the school board? Because I went out there and I listened. I listened to the people. I went to the neighborhoods, I knocked on every door, and I asked people for their vote, and I heard their concerns. Professionally, I am the Director of Human Resources with HCR ManorCare, which is a nationwide healthcare company based out of Toledo, Ohio. I work for them in Pennsylvania, and an opportunity arose to come to Clearwater, and I took that opportunity. I'm running for city council because I believe our city council lacks leadership. They don't listen to you, the citizens. I want to be your voice. I want to make Clearwater the best place to do business. I want to make sure you're safe, and I want to make sure that the neighborhoods are represented. Because currently, as you well know, it seems like the city just cares about downtown, and we need to care about all the neighborhoods. So thank you, and I look forward to talking to you tonight and throughout this campaign.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start with the first question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Bunker, and then go down the line. What, if any, changes would you implement to ensure Clearwater minimizes losses from employee theft in sloppy accounting in Clearwater City departments?
Well, boy, that's a great question. I got to sit down with Kevin Dunbar, who was canned from Parks and Rec, the afternoon when he was fired. I went home and opened up the paper and saw, oh, he's gone. I did talk to him about that, and I wasn't terribly satisfied with the answer, and he seemed to be blaming the Tampa Bay Times for stirring up the controversy. But clearly we need to do better. From what I discovered when we were going through the Clearwater Academy, which is a wonderful course that I recommend you all take. It's a 10-week course where you meet all the department heads. I think there were only 2 auditors for the city, if I'm correct. And we definitely need to have greater oversight, people checking out, not just the people in the department, trying to keep track of all the money and resources. But we need to have oversight from our auditing department and make sure that we, crack down on any of these scandals.
Okay. Mr. Santana.
The theft that we're talking about is, the theft that we're talking about has to do with about $500,000 in 3 separate events that occurred. We had the firefighters come out and take out some time. In addition to 2 events that happened with the Parks and Recreation Department, $100,000 that was just outright, someone went to jail for that, and about $200,000 plus that is still unaccounted for. So we have $500,000 in our city budget that is gone. And it has to do with not having the proper supervision. It is important to be able to have stronger supervision, better trained employees to be able to do all the paperwork and the follow-up that's happened. But yet we also need private accounting firms to be able to look at it, to make sure that the money, every dollar that I pay in taxes, that comes back with more than $1 worth of benefit. And we don't have that right now. It is important that, I just want to say that in my 31 years of service with the Sheriff's Department as an administrator, I handled large budgets and an expenditure of a lot of different resources, and I dealt with people at different levels. And we never had a problem with any of these because of the procedures that we had, because of the eyesight that we had on that process. And it's important to have somebody that has that experience to be able to be the oversight, to have that oversight on the city, because obviously we have a problem that we have to address. When we pay our money, we want to get that back. it is so important to make sure that somebody is seasoned here, not just somebody that flew in from California and looking for a job, but somebody that has a home here and looking for that wellness for our community.
So it seems that employee theft happens when people feel that they can get away with it. And I think in order to start to curtail that, we need to start from the top. There needs to be tone and expectations set from leadership. We need to have a code of ethics. We need to articulate what those ethics are. We need to educate our employees about what fraudulent behavior is, what it looks like, what the consequences are. We need to set in place a reporting system, an anonymous reporting system where people can report questionable behavior and not feel that their job is compromised or risked in any way. We need to monitor employees. I stopped by the beach rec center a couple of weeks ago and was talking on a Saturday and talked to the two gentlemen who were there and asked them about, the reputation of the Parks and Rec Department, what did they think about that and how could we improve it? And they both said, we need more cameras. We need more monitoring in the parking lot. I said, do you mean monitoring like cameras right above here in your desk? He said, absolutely. He said, we're not doing anything wrong. Let's have cameras in here. And so that's an option. We also can, we can rotate positions and responsibilities, and we can also monitor access of who has access to taking in the money, recording the money, and reporting the money. And when I was doing some of my research, which I know is the point of some of these in-depth questions, we do have a city auditor, and that city auditor will audit departments, but that auditing report only goes back to the city, or the department head and the city manager. I think it needs to be reported back to the council and to people that aren't involved. In fact, with Mr. Dunbar, he was the department head, and if he got the report, what happens from there? So I think those are some safeguards, and I think there's some practical steps to make improvements. Thank you.
This comes down to leadership. It's very simple. We have an accounting department who has found many of these concerns and have brought them to upper management. Maybe not city council, but they did bring it to the city manager. It's the city manager's responsibility to take action. We will be hiring a new city manager in the next year or very soon. It's important that council analyzes what we want in a city manager. And one of the top things that I would say is accountability. He needs to be able to hold every employee accountable, not just who he wants. There can't be double standards for different people. Everybody needs to be held accountable. I absolutely agree that cameras and double checking on audits and things like that, like other people said tonight, they're all great ideas. But if the leadership is not there to take action once they have the responsibility, once they have the information, then that's city council's job to make sure that they are taking action. That hasn't been done. So I would push for more accountability from the city manager and the city attorney to make sure that these things aren't slipping through the cracks.
Okay, we'll do one from the audience. What are the 3 most important issues facing Clearwater, and how would you handle or address each one of them? Mr. Santana, we'll start with you.
I think we just addressed one of them, which is having that accountability for the money that is received. I won't elaborate on that any further, but that is a critical thing, and we need to have somebody with experience to be able to manage that properly. We have a sense in our community that our government, our city council is not responding to the neighborhood's needs. We have several of our neighborhoods that have lawsuits against the city because they feel that they have not been heard, that their rights as property owners is being infringed upon. And that is something that we need to address. We need to make sure that all of our communities, all of our neighborhoods feel a part of this. We also need to address the downtown redevelopment. We need to spark. We need that spark in downtown. when I travel to Dunedin and Safety Harbor, St. Petersburg, I see that vibrancy. We don't have it in downtown Clearwater. We need to bring that. I think that Imagine Clearwater is trying to do that. It's trying to address it. I will address that issue a little further later, but it's important that we have a spark in our economy, that we bring in housing, that we bring in affordable housing in that area in downtown, that we bring in viability, we bring in more people to come in and be able to spend the resources there. Restaurants and businesses there are hungry for that foot traffic, and we need to address that, and that's something that, in addition, I am very concerned with our children. When 10 of my children go to school in the morning, I want to make sure they come back safe and secure. And I want to address that from the state level.
Three top issues for me are developing more affordable housing and more creativity with affordable housing, setting environmental policy to save us money and reduce our carbon footprint, and advocate for more accountability and transparency. And I'll give you examples through all three. People say accountability and transparency quite frequently. I don't know who has stood up before the council more than me and the city charter review to advocate for accountability and transparency. And here's the example. Our highest paid people, leaders in the city manager and city attorney, are working without annual measurable goals or required written evaluations. That's a problem. That's accountability and transparency. I advocated for that to be put into our city charter. Our charter review committee had deep discussions about it, but ultimately they recommended it and the city council rejected it. They do not want to be held accountable. They think they're doing a good job, but they don't want to report back on metrics. I think that's important. It's the same thing with the environment. Municipalities around us are signing on for renewable energy goals to not only reduce our carbon footprint, but save us money. We need to do the same thing. They think they're doing fine without measurable, accountable goals to protect our environment, to save us money that we can put back into our rec centers and our communities. And the third is affordable housing. We need to own that we have 17% of our population is living at or below poverty level. We have thousands of people waiting on the list for subsidized housing. We need to have those numbers in front of us at all times so that we can be accountable for them to go down. It's not a pretty picture, but how else are we going to improve it unless we're faced with the facts all the time and we work to develop creative solutions? Duplexes, triplexes, accessory dwelling units, there are ways to make more affordable housing available.
My top three priorities are, number one, bringing the focus back to every neighborhood. Number two, making Clearwater a better place to do business. And number three, keeping our citizens safe. And let me go through each one of them. We must worry about all the neighborhoods and not just those in downtown. For far too long, we have heard a lot about how to build downtown. While I think downtown is vitally important, I don't think it's the only thing that we should be focusing on. And when was the last time we heard anything about Countryside? Never. How about this neighborhood? Never. Because our city officials only care about downtown. We need to change that. So I want to be your voice in bringing the focus of the neighborhoods to city council. Number two, I talk to business owners throughout the city, and each of them state how difficult it is for businesses to come into the city because of all of the restrictions and just the red tape that they have to go through on a daily basis. So what do? They decide they're going to go to Dunedin or Safety Harbor because it's easier to start business there. We need to be the number one place that people want to do business in Pinellas County and in the state of Florida. It's vitally important. I have the endorsement of the Chamber of Commerce that they just endorsed me last week, and I believe that's because of my business-friendly approach. Public safety. The number one responsibility of any government is to make sure that their citizens are safe. I will work day and night to make sure that our police and fire have the resources necessary to do their job effectively. I'm proud to have the endorsement of the police, and that's something that I take great pride in.
So, I think it's important that the city council and the city itself pays attention to us. Because I don't know how many times I've been to a council meeting and I've seen citizens get up and no one's paying attention. I remember there was a meeting a few months ago about a 8-story self-storage unit going up next to an apartment complex. And this company had been trying to get this implemented for 2 years, or for a year actually, and it didn't fit with the laws for that property. The neighbors didn't want it. You had people who lived in that apartment complex say, we have trees out here we love to see, and those are all going to be gone for this behemoth. And even the city department in charge of these developments said, don't approve it. Our lawyers say don't approve it. It won't create any jobs. And the council approved it like that. I think we need to have a greater balance for the people's needs. Not every single property needs to be developed. And also, the way we care for our money. $64 million for Imagine Clearwater. That's a lot. We didn't vote to have a 4,000-seat stadium or concert hall downtown. We need to scale that back and use that money for our other communities. Also, excuse me. Also, you know, okay, I'm going to bring up the Scientology word. Thank you in advance. The city, the downtown, the big problem there is people don't want to go down there because of Scientology. And we need to stand up and say, you've got to make a difference yourself.
We're going to pause for a minute so he can change mic out. Oh. Not working.
You broke the mic. It was you. It was.
So, Kathleen, I guess you're next.
Okay.
And the question is, what do you know about the 5 largest non-government employers in the city of Clearwater? And how will you help ensure those firms, as well as other firms, choose to stay and grow in Clearwater?
So, this question is first of all, I've never run for office before, but this question is a pivot question, and here's why. So to determine the 5 largest companies in Clearwater, there are different ways to look at it. Is it their geographical areas, is it the number of people that they employ? I think the bottom line is we have a number of large companies in Clearwater. So, we have Morton Plant Hospital, Honeywell, Tech Data, Pods. I think that would make the, parts of the top 5 of anyone's. But what's important is, so what would I do to keep them here? And that was it, right? To keep them here? Okay.
And encourage others to come.
Yeah, and encourage others to come. The bottom line, the truth is, the things that determine whether a business is going to come into a community or people are going to move there is the schools. And as a teacher, you know that's the truth, the quality of the schools. As a council person, I can't do a whole bunch with the schools except support our public schools. But what I can do is support things that are attractive to those top 5 businesses, as well as the small and medium businesses that employ most of the people who live and work in Clearwater. It's small and medium, it's not those 5. And those are things like our community amenities. It's our safety, it's our streets. And in order to support enriching a family's life where a school would normally attract people to a community, we can offer more in our rec centers. We can maybe offer some vocational opportunities. When I talk to people all through the summer, they would say, I want more for my kids to do during the summer. I want more for my kids to do after school. And we can do better that way to attract people to Clearwater and help them stay here in this lovely community.
Top 5 businesses. Honeywell employs, I believe, 40,000 people. Tech Data, St. Pete College is a big one, Baycare, and Ponds. But the real question is, how do we bring more businesses in? We know Honeywell, they're thriving. We know that Baycare, people are going to get sick. We're going to need that. You know, my industry, the healthcare industry, that's not going to go away because nursing homes aren't going anywhere. People are going to get sick and need care, so they're not going anywhere. But we do need to have a more business-friendly environment. It's like I talked about earlier. We need to make the city more business-friendly. We need to cut the red tape. We cannot sit around and wait for businesses to come to us. We have to get out there and incentivize businesses to come to us. We can't just sit around and wait for them to come, or they're not going to come. That's what council has been doing for years, sitting around and waiting, and they haven't come, and they're not going to. So I believe that I have the energy to spark city council to become more business friendly and enact policies and procedures, policies and ordinances to make it more business friendly. Thank you.
I agree with his list of businesses. Morton Plant and Baycare is right up there. Healthcare is so huge now as an industry. I actually had a triple bypass back in 2017 at Morton Plant, and I went to his Manor Care Rehab Center afterwards, and it was a great experience. The food,
Not so much.
I'm crazy about that, but other than that, it was delightful. We have to indeed help small businesses every way we can. The city has been trying for decades now to get something going downtown, and one recent program they had was, we'll give you money to open a business down here, and then they didn't give away a single nickel because they made the rules so bizarre that they